Are seed oils killing your dog? Or is it just hype, fear, and misinformation? Today, we are going to look at the scientific literature, including randomized controlled trials in humans and animals, to bring you a clear, unbiased, and detailed look at seed oils and what they actually do inside your dog's body. So if you want to be an informed pet parent or professional, you owe it to your dog to watch this. Before we start, my name is Sam. I'm your dog's nutritionist, and it's important for you to understand two things. One, I only specialize in nutrition, and two, I am not beholden to anyone. I am fully independent, unlike most of the people out there. So let's start with what are seed oils. Seed oils tend to be vegetable oils extracted from seeds like corn, soybean, sunflower, safflower, and canola. And they are mostly made of polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-6 fatty acids like linoleic acid, which is a very controversial ingredient. Now, pet food manufacturers love seed oils because they are cheap to produce, shelf stable, long shelf lives, if you look at canned foods or kibble, and they contain rich sources of essential fatty acids required by AFCO. They're also easy to add as concentrated energy sources. They add calories to the overall recipe. But that said, the devil is in the details. What are the critics of seed oils saying? Well, what they say is that seed oils oxidize easily and they form harmful lipid peroxides that damage cells. And it's all to do with inflammation. High omega-6 intake disrupts the ideal omega-3 to omega-3 ratios, and this promotes inflammation. So what they say is that these chemical messengers are linked to chronic disease. The critics also say that it might worsen conditions like pancreatitis, obesity, or immune dysfunction for dogs or humans. But these concerns are based on mechanistic studies and some animal feeding trials, the epidemiology. For example, a study found oxidized fats in dog food reduced digestibility and palatability, and another one showed high linoleic acid altered immune markers in puppies. So yes, there are absolutely some reasons to be cautious, but let's then look at real world data. There is a difference between epidemiology and in vitro studies and randomized controlled trials where you are trying to ascertain a consensus. Mechanistic data doesn't always translate to real health outcomes. In humans, for example, seed oils are the most significant source of calories added to diets in the last few decades, and obesity and metabolic diseases have risen in the same time frame. But is it because of the seed oil itself, or is it because the increase in total calories? To find out, we now have quite a lot of human randomized controlled trials where polyunsaturated fats replace saturated fats, beef tallow, butter, that sort of thing, without increasing total calories. So inflammation there is either unchanged or decreased when polyunsaturated fats replace saturated fats. And metabolic markers like insulin sensitivity, liver fat, and blood sugar tend to improve. Cardiovascular risk often decreases or stays the same, and cancer risk is either unaffected or slightly reduced. What does this mean for dogs, and are seed oils any good for your dog? Now, dogs are more meat eaters than anything else, and they have a very unique lipid metabolism. The problem that we have with dogs is that we do not have a large body of randomized controlled trials on seed oils here. But when diets replace saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat, outcomes like inflammation and insulin resistance improve or stay neutral. Concerns about seed oil's oxidation mostly arise from poor storage, repeated heating, for which kibble is a clear culprit, or low quality food. Oxidized fats are a huge problem in kibble and treats that have been poorly stored or reheated. That's where the damage happens. Not with fresh, well-preserved oils. But hey, if you really are into dog nutrition, you should consider downloading our book, How to Feed Your Dog Better. It's an absolute eye-opener and it will help you understand how the industry works and what the best dog food is. We also have a DIY recipe book, so if you want to be in complete control over your dog's diet, you can download it down below. Our DIY recipe book is unmissable. It puts you in control. If you look at the overall picture, then things might be different. But when you look at seed oils one for one with saturated fats, we don't see a correlation or causation. We do not see a direct link of poor health outcomes. Now, does that mean that seed oils are really good, that seed oils are nothing to worry about? Well, no, absolutely not. If you are worried about your dog's health, seed oils aren't the main villain. You need to look instead at vague ingredient labeling. Things like poultry fat, meat and animal derivatives, meat and bone meal, and those tend to hide what's actually inside. You also need to look out for added sugars or high glycemic carbohydrates like wheat, corn, and barley, all linked to obesity and metabolic disease when dogs overconsume calories. And that is the main culprit. All these poor quality ingredients added to our dog's food. We also need to look at oxidized fats from improper processing and storage, imbalances between omega-3s and omega-6s. Too much omega-6 without adequate omega-3s can promote inflammation, and inflammation is an absolute recipe for disaster. So you need to reduce inflammation and overall calories if your dog is overweight. So what should you look out for? You should choose diets with transparent, high-quality fat sources. None of this animal fat malarkey. Ensure a good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Avoid foods with sugar or excessive grains. That's so important because our dogs are more meat eaters than anything else. And so manufacturers will put up to 40, 50, 60% carbohydrates in the food and expect our dogs to be healthy for a long time. And that's not the case, especially in veterinary approved diets. So it is very, very likely that the current food you are giving your dog is very, very carb heavy and low in meat, which is what you should be paying for. You should be paying for high quality meat. High meat, low carbohydrate. The most expensive macronutrient is protein. You can also consider fresh, minimally processed foods to avoid oxidation. So what is the verdict? The verdict is that seed oils, they're not innocuous, they're not harmless, they can promote inflammation and they can contribute to the adding of calories in dog food. But if we are isolating seed oils and comparing them to saturated fats, they aren't inherently toxic for dogs. They aren't pernicious for dogs on a one-to-one basis. But in ultra-processed, poorly formulated foods loaded with sugar, cheap grains, highly refined carbohydrates, and oxidized fats or rendered meats, the entire formula contributes to poor health. So if it's just a tiny bit of seed oil in a really, really good diet, then no worries at all. But if it's a poor quality food and it's full of seed oils and carrageenan and thickeners and guar gums and sugar and all these things, then we are going to have a problem over time. That is the problem. The problem is the same culprits. The same culprits come up over and over, and they tend to be companies that put too little meat in dog food recipes because meat is the most expensive thing. And so they replace it with corn or with wheat or whatever, and they tell you that that's absolutely fine. It is not. What we always say is that a good food is a good food and a poor food is a poor food. And good ingredients are good ingredients and poor ingredients are poor ingredients. And a bunch of added nutrients and vitamins and minerals can never ever replace the real thing. And the real thing is real food, fresh food. Fresh food is much better than processed food. Now, if you want science-backed advice on what to feed your dog for optimum health, you can download my guide below and my DIY dog nutrition book. The links will be down below. And if you are still curious about dog food, you should really watch this video next.